if you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Acknowledge me.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
We are bad to the bone. Get it? Bad to the bone.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him.
Let me tell you something, Jim Ross.
Mega power, yeah.
We got it for you.
We are the best of the best.
Woo! Wheeling dealing.
Smart marks.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Talk 'em in the Building, a pro wrestling podcast that puts the focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and of course we have to pontificate upon the promo. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me, and I'm joined by the team. Y'all already know we got Greg here in Atlanta representing KISS. What's happening,
ready to
bro?
rock and roll all night, baby. We're up to rock and roll all night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And out west, we got the professor out of lead. How you living, bro?
Living it up, brother. And I'm shouting out the Lucha Brothers, Republic Store.
Nice. All right, well, folks, if this is your first time checking us out, like I said, we are a pro wrestling podcast that puts the focus on the promo. Other places you can go get the recaps, you can get all the speculation, all that stuff. But here we try to put as much focus as possible on the underrated element of the promo. Hence, talk 'em in the building. That's the point of the promo, right? So if you want to check out any past episodes, and we got plenty of them because we're a couple years in, fellas, go to intothebuilding.com. That'll bring you to the backlog where we have these full conversations. We have a couple of our reviews that we call our Dusty Review, where we break down the pros and cons of promos. We also have our Mount Rushmore series, Greg takes lead on those. Always a good conversation with you two gentlemen. I'm always blessed and honored to be able to do this weekly with y'all. So for today's episode, y'all, without all that bloviating and all that stuff, right? Today's episode, we're going to talk about one thing that made me a fan almost immediately as a kid of pro wrestling. And that's the big man. That's the giants of the industry. And, we got plenty of examples of big men and talent and just these larger than life characters and literal larger than life people that were pro wrestlers. So before we get into these promos out of lead, I want to get your opinion. Who's your favorite big man in pro wrestling of all time?
All time.
Let's go and shoot it.
That's a tough question, man. That's a really got me in a hard spot. I'd really have to look back at it, just with consistency and there's a bit of nostalgia there.
For sure.
I think all the time people will go for an Andre, probably just for historical significance, right, and whatnot.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw a curveball, and for consistency in my era and like what I've been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And now he gets a lot of hate because of multiple turns and whatnot, but Big Show's gotta be up there, man.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
We're following a guy that he did the WCW run. He came in as a big dude into WWE, but has had every version of comedy of still being the man on top, and being in fluctuating versions of himself, and even down to the not so memorable run in AEW, but the dude really acclimated to what he was, and if you go back, I mean, beyond the promo, if you go back to see how athletic he was at one point, it's kind of insane.
Man. Yeah, it was
right?
insane.
Like, people forget, like, giant, Paul White. Well, Paul White in WCW, that dude was something else. But he's got to be up there, and even his promo really evolved over the time. Like,
definitely.
He became this real menace and really kind of scary on the ring too.
Definitely, and that's a good choice. Shout out to Captain Insano of one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, that's a perfect example of a big man I'm talking about. Plenty of opportunity to show character and range. Like, he's done it all. Like, he was our generation's Andre, essentially. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, shout out to him. Greg, who's your pick for your all-time favorite big man?
So I had to think about like what classifies a big man, right?
Okay, there we go.
And it's hard sometimes. Like, of course, my all-time favorite's Hogan. That's a big man, but I don't
That's
look at
true.
him as a big man. Like,
Right,
it's
right,
just
right.
I
Right.
kind of have him in this other category. And then you have your like you said, Paul White, who I gotta throw flowers there, right? I mean, he could do comedy, he could do serious, he could do anything. Like, the dude was almost a product of being so talented that he almost got booked badly because he was so talented.
Mm.
But you think about like a Bruiser Brody. I mean, is he considered a big man? A Terry Gordy, because they're 300 plus, but they're not Andre, they're not
Right.
Taker.
Right.
But and this is not somebody I would say was my favorite growing up, but looking backwards, two pop into my head, but one clearly I think in his prime, nobody touched him, and that's Big Van Vader.
Oh, that's a good one.
I
Yeah.
mean, his feuds with Sting, his feuds with Cactus,
Flair.
his stuff with Flair, and that shows his range. Just talking Sting, Cactus, and Flair, three very different people, three very different types of matches, and dude could go. And I just think if we could have gotten Prime Vader in the Attitude Era with whether I don't care if it's on
That's
Nitro
a
or
huge
Raw
missed
during that time
opportunity.
frame.
Yeah.
That one's just, man, just looking back, just thinking about what the what ifs could have been.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
even think about we never got him and Hogan.
Right.
Yeah.
When Hogan came in, he kind of left, and it's like, oh man. And the other one that popped into my head
Okay.
was Abdullah.
Ah,
Abdullah the
heavy,
Butcher,
that's
man.
right.
As a kid, he scared the living hell out of me.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember being in the Omni. And I know I told you guys this, but I don't think I've ever told it on the podcast. He scared me so bad I ran from him in the Omni. Like, he took steps towards us, I was gone, and I was on the floor. Like, I was on the floor every single Sunday night or every single Sunday in the Omni, right on those each month. And he took steps towards us, and I ran. And then fast forward several years, and I'm sitting at his restaurant for 3 hours talking to him on the porch, and it's just the most. There were
surreal,
times I
bro.
just zone out. Like, I just zone out. Like, this dude chased me. I have a picture. I'll show you guys one day if I haven't ever shown it to you. It's him and I, and he's in a shirt and tie. And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing in the world. And just the sweetest man. And I mean, he's a worker and he's a carny. Don't get it twisted. But at the same time, he's a businessman. But those two just in the ring, Abdullah in his prime could go. He wasn't just all about the forks and the hardcore and all that kind of stuff, but an attraction, man, an attraction.
Yeah.
And then Vader, he could just go. And again, an attraction, but just, man. And I happened to see a video the other day. Sorry, I didn't even think about this till just now, where he took somebody's head and put it right in. It was in Japan. You know that he used to wear that shoulder pads and
Yeah.
just shot the stuff out.
Right.
He
Yeah.
had it down and he put their face right into it and shot it, and it was shot right into their face.
Oh man.
It was the craziest thing, man.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the modern way of burning somebody, and that guy sold it like
Jeez.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Jeez, man, he was a menace." So yeah,
That dude got it to the very end, R.I.P. But even that last Will Ospreay work shoot, right? We're like,
Yeah.
and then now Ospreay's like talking about it, just in interviews. He's like, yeah, we were talking all about it, like we were texting back and forth. Like,
Smart, man. Smart.
What do you think?
Yeah.
So he had his finger on the pulse there.
And prayers up to Abby. I mean, I heard that he was having some health issues, but I mean, right now he's good. So prayers up to him. Hopefully he pulls out. And like you said, man, he's definitely one of the legends. Y'all let us know down below, comment and all that good stuff. Let us know who's your favorite giant, who's your favorite big man of professional wrestling. The guys gave you some good examples. I want to hear some more. Let us know what you're thinking. But fellas, I want to go ahead and jump into the guy who made me say, like, whoa, what the hell is this? I want to jump into the legend one of the, if you're talking about a giant, if you're talking about a big man in pro wrestling, look no further than this big son of a gun.
Probably heard the old expression, some mighty big boots to fill or shoes to fill. And that is a mighty big boot. It just happens to belong to the gentleman who is my guest at this time. I'm talking about Andre the Giant. He is 7'4" 3/4. He weighs 485 pounds. There is not another man in any professional sport as big as this man. If our cameraman can come on in, I want to show you the ring. This belongs to Andre the Giant. This is the ring. And I kid you not, I can get all 3 fingers in that ring. Beautiful ring indeed. Thank you, Andre. You know, we have followed your career. I've had the opportunity of covering many matches you've been in. Have you ever lost a match?
No, I never lost a match here.
You know, I also recall you went up against the boxer, Chuck Wepner, at Madison Square Garden. We were there for that one, and you even defeated him.
Yeah, and even if Muhammad Ali wants to come in the ring, I'll take him.
I believe you would. I don't know if Muhammad Ali would want to get in the ring with you.
I don't know.
You know, Andre, you're a Frenchman. You speak the French language. Perhaps for some of the people watching, you can give us some of the French.
Je voudrais dire que ça fait vraiment plaisir de venir dans cette région pour faire la lutte. Et je voudrais dire aussi que si vraiment les gens d'ici veulent vraiment bien m'accepter, ça ferait plaisir de devenir américain.
All right. You know, people think that it is just your size and your strength that gives you the advantage when you get in the ring, but you do have a lot of technical background, and you work very hard at this.
Oh, yeah, before I was in wrestling, I played for 4 years in soccer and 2 years in rugby. And I was for 1 year in boxing, and now for the last 13 years in wrestling.
You know, let's take a look at the size of your hand. I want to compare it to mine. Fans, take a look at this. Can you believe that? Perhaps even, let's compare it to the size of my head. Andre.
Okay, first and foremost, Andre was styling and profiling, low key. Like, it's not enough said.
76.
Yeah, he was styling. But Greg, I want to know your thoughts on Andre and just the allure of this over 7 foot tall character.
So he was an attraction as well. So back in the territory days, when I first saw him, of course, that was AWA.
Right.
But I saw him here in Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in, I think, with Dusty. And I was like, whoa.
Mm.
And the only reason I liked him was because of Dusty. I was never an Andre fan. And ever. I mean, I pulled for him. Hey, Dusty said pull for him. He's on Dusty's side. I'm pulling for Dusty. But I remember that. But really, my biggest impact of seeing Andre was seeing him in the Omni. And that dude's head was massive.
Right.
Massive. And I would just remember seeing this big old head just going down the aisle. And just huge. But I guess I'd never connected with Andre, but I didn't connect with very many big men, and it was like I just didn't connect with them. Like I just felt like, but I liked how he was used as the attraction. Right. He came in, he was an enforcer for like Dusty. He was an enforcer for others throughout their time, and then he would go on. He was that type of person that he couldn't stay somewhere that long. He had to lose. Yeah, an attraction has to lose at some point. So,
for sure.
But it is cool to see that. I kind of wanted some subtitles because I don't really know what he was saying.
Right.
And then that's the magic of Mean Gene, right? And
100%.
that was the magic.
Oh, man.
And as I'm watching that and I'm hearing Andre talk, you have to kind of focus, right? He has a thick accent, and it took me back to Gordon Solie. Gordon Solie was the same way. He kind of talked for Andre without talking for Andre.
And great point, because that's the next thing I wanted to bring to Out of Lead. We talk it's damn near every other episode of Talking Pod where we're giving Mean Gene props for being the ultimate stick man. So Out of Lead, I want to know your opinion, because I mean, Mean Gene was the vehicle of that promo in that particular segment. I want to know your thoughts on Mean Gene.
Well, it goes back to what we always say when we talk about Mean Gene is he is an incredible, interviewer, but it's pro wrestling. He's not interviewing anybody. He's playing his role as a producer in that moment, right? He knows the strengths of Andre, and the strengths aren't stick. They are being that imposing presence.
Right.
But he acknowledges the voice, acknowledges that, to Greg's point, that he is speaking a second language in English, and says, talk to your people, talk in French. Because I know when I hear, luchadores that are, English is not their first language, and I hear them speak Spanish, I'm like, oh, you're confident. You know what you're doing most of the time. Sometimes they're just not good promos. It doesn't matter here, because the whole point is in a way to legitimize not just the size of Andre, but for me, Mijin is almost giving us the other side. Like, no, he's a legitimate athlete before he was ever a pro wrestler, right? And he gives him that in, and Andre just fills in the blank. So again, Mijin, a pro's pro through and through, Hall of Famer, an all-timer.
Yes, bro.
Because, he knows how to give it up so that the wrestlers can fill in the blanks to the best of their ability. And if you fail at that, then that's your problem, not Mijin. So, but I loved it. I thought it was not a version of Andre I get to see too often, right?
Exactly, and that's why I wanted to.
He could have been hanging out with my tios at the discoteca, the discotheque over here.
Exactly.
A night on the town, as I found some pictures over the years.
And based on stories that we've heard, my guy could put him down. He could hang out. He could kick it. He's one of those.
One cool thing about that promo is he was coming in as an attraction.
Yes.
And here's how you know that, because he's setting it up. That's not a I've been here for months promo. That's I'm coming in. Look how big his hand is. Look how big this ring is. Look how I'm introducing him to an audience. Even if he's been in the AWA before, I'm reintroducing him because he's new. And
100%.
that's the magic of Mean Gene, is that he and the production. I mean, they start at the foot and they come up. And they're showing the size of him. And it's kind of shot a little bit of an angle. Later on, you would see a lot more of that if you go back and watch some of that WWF stuff. It was shot more of an angle, but this was, for its time, ahead of his time. And
definitely,
Vern was ahead of his time when he comes down to production.
Awesome. Yeah, those are great points. He's one of the legends, and like I said, when I was a kid, he would. I was always a fan of pro wrestling as soon as I was watching it. But the first time I saw Andre, I was like, what is this? Like that was my reaction as a child. And then you add Princess Bride, once we saw him there and stuff like that. It's just like this larger than life character that you can watch every Saturday morning as a child, or that sort of thing. But definitely one of the greatest of all time. Now, its potential with this next giant in the industry. This is a current performer. This is an all elite wrestler. And the way that there's something about this wrestler that makes me immediately pay attention to her.
Meghan, you really like to pick fights, huh? I don't care how big you are, how hard you hit. I will wrap my arms around you and make you sleep.
Anna, it's been a long time.
Since you've been gone, some things have changed. There's a new animal in this jungle, and a pure heart, fat ass, and friendship isn't going to help you climb the food chain.
Megan, I bet that your back is blown out after the pipe that I brought last night. Harley, you can't. That's not because.
Harley, quit hiding behind Anna G's fat ass.
Come, fight for your fallen sister, and maybe you will understand what she clearly couldn't. That mercy is the one thing that I never truly mastered.
Change of pace. Obviously, change of pace, right? Yeah, so Meghan Bayne. This is the focus, gentlemen. This is the focus. Meghan Bayne, she's the biggest competitor in the women's division at AEW, aside from Nyla Rose. But there's something about Meghan Bayne that makes you pay attention to her.
Oh, yeah.
One of the first episodes we had, I made up my Adrian strip club test. And for those of you that are new, the test was as simple as this. Adrian, as a younger restaurateur in Southwest Florida, would constantly find himself in the strip clubs. But he wanted to watch pro wrestling, develop great relationships with bartenders there who would always have on, at the time, TNA and then Lucha Underground. And on Fridays, if I popped in, they would turn on SmackDown for your boy. And obviously, being in a strip club, music playing, all that, you can't hear promos, but you can see. And you can see visuals. So the strip club test was as simple as this. You're sitting there at the bar, no audio, but you look at something, you say, hold on, what is that? And I think Meghan Bayne passes that test. Adelide, I want to know your thoughts on Meghan Bayne before we get into that promo segment.
Yeah. So here's someone that, I think we've all had some awareness of from the indie scene, right? And, did some work in Japan, still doing some work in Japan, right? And doing, do the international piece. I did get to see her at an indie show in LA, a very small all women's indie event from a company that actually just ran their last show. Kitsune, and
I remember.
Man, she lives up to the hype. I mean, she was there in the ring, with Hall of Famers, with newcomers, and Jessica Roden, is another one that y'all should be keeping an eye on. But she was in the ring with her too, and she looked the part. She stood out, and that's the thing. When you're at an indie show, which we all go to indie shows, and you can tell who's investing in and who the product is themselves, right? It is the
For
wrestling, and she's a very dynamic wrestler, and she clearly puts a lot of work into her body, physically, and giving that physicality. But the gear, right? The presence, she carries herself a certain way that when you're watching an indie show, and when people are coming in with Walmart shorts, she's gonna stand out. And guess what? When I'm gonna go get my 8x10 or go get my merch shirt, I'm probably gonna go to her.
Going over to her,
right? Because that's also gonna translate to the merch. She's gonna have better merch too. So, as someone that's been, somewhat following her here and there, it's interesting to see her develop, and they haven't pushed her in a way that is exposing her either, which is interesting.
Yeah. They're being thoughtful with her. And great point with how much she's invested in herself. The headdress is something that makes her even taller, makes her even bit more big compared to those competitors in that division. But Greg, on the other end of that promo or whatnot, there's something that's said about AEW, and they say it's for the sickos. And there were multiple jokes and suggestions about certain body parts and all that stuff. What were your thoughts on that element of that rivalry or promo segment?
So I think there's a place and a time for those comments, right?
Okay.
So when I hear that, I think of the beautiful people back in TNA. I
That's
feel
a good
like
one.
that's
Yeah.
where it belongs.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at Meghan Bayne, it doesn't belong
Yeah.
there. When I look at her and her presentation, everything, it puts me in the mindset of an Amazon, i.e., Wonder Woman, right? Off the island, serious badass, and at that point, I feel like you need to kind of change that promo style to be more serious.
Like she's above that.
Yeah, 100%. Right?
Yes.
Above it, or it's just not in that universe, right? You didn't do that with a Bray Wyatt. You didn't do that with an Undertaker. You didn't do that with certain characters. You just stayed away from it.
That's not her genre.
You had a DX, and that fit their characters, or like I said, the beautiful people. It fit perfectly with them, right? Even like a Lay Cool or the Inspiration or Iconics or whatever, that grouping. Even I would have an issue with. There's others, right? I won't have to go down the whole path, but I just feel like it's out of place, and I think that's where we fall short in the AEW, even TNA sometimes, other independents. They don't think about that intangible part, and I feel like it does bring that character down a little bit, because when we talk about big men, they're always serious.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they're not, they lose their credibility a little bit. But most of the time, that big man can flip it. Kane comes to mind, or a Big Show comes to mind, where he could be comedy, and the next week he'd be right back to serious. Everybody's like, yeah, we good. It's like, but you gotta be careful, right? And in this case, while she's big, she's not China.
Right.
She's size wise, but she's not imposing like China was at the time compared to the rest of the women's roster.
Right.
The women's roster today is larger. But I think you need to keep her special, and I think that's where you lose it a little bit.
Those are good points, because I do think, at least my opinion, that promo or that segment or that whole idea is just for pops in the back. That's the word. That's a feeling that I get. Maybe it's a you got if you know type kind of joke or whatnot. But I agree, like, Meghan shouldn't be involved with that, or involved with it, but she shouldn't be saying she shouldn't be encouraging any of that. But I do love Meghan Bayne. It does seem like Joey Janela booked that himself. So shout out to my guy Joey, man. Because
like, to me, she could be like her partner could say it.
Yeah,
she
yeah,
could
yeah.
just look at her and
look crazy. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I feel like, and I don't know where we're going, but that's one of my biggest irritations with WWE is done with Nia Jax. Is that Nia Jax, to me, should be booked as just a silent killer badass. Even though if you watch her social media, she seems to have a wonderful personality and hilarious and has a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I know she wants to bring that out, but sometimes I lose it a little bit watching her because I want her to be that badass. And I'm not a Nia Jax fan by any stretch of the imagination. But when I watch her,
I have an appreciation.
You should be a badass, not loser and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that's you can take me out of it, and that's where I think they start to dance that line with Meghan.
We're basically describing Awesome Kong. Shout out Awesome Kong.
100%.
Now, but then you bring up a good point when it comes to the perception of the giant in pro wrestling. And it's one thing that definitely makes me think about when it comes to the character that they put out there, whether it's a promo segment or anything like that. More often than not, they're silent, right? They're very imposing, that sort of thing. And it's one of those things where I think pro wrestling could do a lot more with the giant or the big man when they get it character wise. So my next question for you, out of lead, what archetype or character do you want to see more of when it comes to a big person in pro wrestling?
Okay, so we always talk about we've been through, at this point, collectively 100 years of pro wrestling watching, between the three of us,
for sure,
or more, probably than that. And for me, is we've matured the pro wrestling business to a point where we can turn convention on its side, right? We can turn convention on its head.
100%.
Everybody is in the know. Everybody knows, the tropes of, or not the tropes, just what pro wrestling typically is. And to that end, we talk about not doing the comedy bits with these giants. I think the more interesting play, which I think Undertaker always did, ultimately, once he found that evolution of the character, was a giant that is not easily manipulated, a giant that calls the shots, and a giant that is ultra intelligent and aware of like what his role is within the sphere of the people he interacts with. Because every time I see a giant, somebody dupes him or somebody tricks him, or
simple-minded.
Like, we're going to do 5-on-1.
Right.
If you're a smart giant, you're not going to put yourself in a situation to be outnumbered. Right. Whether it means you manipulate people, you use people. Right. I haven't seen that yet fully. And I think Taker is a little bit of he's a giant dude, but I don't think I'd ever considered him like in that class. I think he was in class all his own ultimately.
Okay.
So I'm curious if somebody ever comes on and does a version of that, I guess I'd say.
What are your thoughts, Greg?
I think first off, the giant
Mm-hmm.
should be an attraction.
Okay.
So they need to come and go.
Mm.
This is where I think they lost it with Big Show.
Mm.
And let me explain attractions to everybody. I'll use another that's not a big man giant, but the Road Warriors were an attraction.
Right.
And when did they start to lose credibility? Is when they came into WWE and they stayed.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you have to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And when you lose, that mystique comes down.
Mm.
And from what I understand, they're going to be doing that with Braun Strowman. That he's going to come and go. And it's like if you allow it to happen that way, you keep that credibility. I think with other giants, you have to be careful. I mean, Big Show went to comedy, went to so many different places but if you
Mm-hmm.
think if you had kept him strong his entire career,
Mm-hmm.
he would be looked at like Andre.
Mm.
He
Yep.
had that potential, the athleticism, the badassedness. I mean, he had that whole thing that he could have sprinkled in a little bit of comedy here and there at times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use an exception to this rule with the comedy is Kane, because all of his comedy still stem back to how intelligent he found out he really was.
Mm.
If you think about it, his whole backstory kind
Yeah.
of goes all the way back to I thought I was the forgotten kid. I was this, and my brother burned up everybody and blah 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 blah. And then I start to realize, wait, I'm not as messed up as I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I can take off this mask. I'm not as burned
Yeah.
up as I. Everything kind of went back to that, and then even when he went back to the mask, he had credibility.
Right.
The
Yeah.
way he played it, and that's a testament to Glenn Jacobs. Taker, I don't think could have ever done that.
Mm. That's a
Yeah.
good
Taker
point.
flipped into American Badass and became a better wrestler and came back to the Dead Man
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
became a much more entertaining wrestler in the ring.
Mm.
But he invested so much in that character, we never saw that fun comedy side of Mark Calloway until the
Yeah.
podcast or until he did his TED Talk. So,
Mm.
Still weird.
Right.
yeah, right. But I mean, when you think about those giants, I mean, Bruiser Brody.
Right.
Do you think you're gonna see him doing comedy?
At all.
Yeah.
No.
Abdullah, Vader, those dudes didn't do that.
Right.
But they were attractions.
Yeah. Yeah.
More
Well,
you're talking, the more I think I just want to see Kingpin from Marvel Comics as a pro wrestler.
Oh, bro.
Right. Right. Well, now that you say that, one example of a big man that's like extremely high level intelligence, Gunther, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Gunther is one of
We've
those
talked about him a
big,
lot. Yeah.
one of those big men, extremely eloquent, very confident. His character is that he's very intelligent, privileged, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But a character or a character type that I haven't quite seen of a giant that I would like to see, and y'all tell me if you think that you have seen it before, is a chicken shit hill giant.
Oh.
I haven't.
The
I
mainstream.
don't remember of any. I can't remember. I was trying to think before we started recording, like of any examples of giants or big men that were like chicken shits.
I got one.
Who is that?
Kind of a chicken shit.
Okay.
Andre with Jake the Snake and Damien.
Yeah.
He played that very well where he was scared of that snake.
Yeah.
And just freaked out. Not a total chicken shit, right? Per se. Like, but like, whoa, we found his Achilles heel.
Right.
And it's hard to do with those big dudes, right?
Right.
But I think that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah. I'm talking about full on shit. Like
100%.
I don't want to face anybody.
Yeah.
Like local talent number one. I don't want to face him.
Yeah.
For some reason something's going on. Like I want to see that. Like I don't know. That's one of those characters that would be interesting for me or whatnot. But go ahead, Adelie. You had something?
I was gonna say, I'm like, it'd have to take like a Sean Bradley type, someone that just looks
right.
too skinny.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I was just thinking it like you have to be kind of like a little bit nerdy or whatnot, but no, I don't think anybody like I'm thinking like MLW right now, NXT. Nobody really stands
I
out.
couldn't think of anybody.
Everybody's booked to be somewhat imposing, right?
Right. But yeah, it's weird because more often than not, when you have a big man, when you have a giant, he's either simple minded, like you know, quiet but deadly,
Yeah.
imposing. Like it's that same old, same old. Like I'm looking at like, man, what are these other opportunities we have for big men in pro wrestling? But which brings us to our last promo. Want to go out on a high note, I would say this is probably one of my personal favorite promo segments of all time, and it's he's not the tallest, but he's pretty big, and he's the world's strongest man.
Thank y'all. One more match from one of the better crowds that I've been in front of in the last 5 years. That's the only championship Mark Henry hasn't won.
That's Salmon Blazer.
I'm on the road close to 200 nights a year to my beautiful wife, Jana. I think you'll see more of me than you want to. And to my son, Jacob, who's a fanatical wrestling fan. Some of y'all seen him on Twitter. And my little girl, Joanna, I'm not Mae Young. To my little girl, Joanna, who cries when I leave home. Baby, I'm coming home.
Oh.
You think it's that easy? I got a lot left in the tank.
Man.
Hands down, one of my personal favorite segments or promos, reactions, swerves, just whatever you want to say about that segment in particular. That's a chef's kiss. That's pro wrestling.
Perfect.
That's pro wrestling. Greg, I don't know about you, but I remember watching that live and going through that roller coaster. Describe that feeling of going through what we experienced way back in 2013, which is so insane. 12 years ago.
So I have probably a different feeling than you did.
Okay.
The whole time I'm like, he working us.
Really?
I was like, and here's why. I was like, why Cena come out? I was like, that
why is he around?
Right.
Yeah,
But I was like, I couldn't. But I will say, I was on a ride of like, is this real or not? But when Cena raised his hand, I'm like, if he don't turn on him, I'm gonna be shocked. Like I've watched this stuff for way too long, man. And I'm like, and he did it, and I popped for it, and I was
Yeah.
just like, and I wasn't. I enjoy Mark Henry, but I was like not a Mark Henry fan per se, right? But I was like, okay, we're gonna be off to the races with this one because, and I always felt like he should have gotten that title, but
Yeah,
I
Man.
mean, that was a great promo. He got the tears going. He had the crowd sold. Just because I'm part of this IWC and I don't believe nothing, so
Right.
it was even then. But he had me because I wasn't quite sure. But in the back of my head, I was like, he gonna turn on. But no, that was awesome. The whole thing was good. It was just
Yeah.
from the jacket to the way he's dressed. I mean,
Yeah.
just the whole thing was good.
Yeah, the baby I'm coming home, like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yes.
this is full
Yes.
emotional. He's taking in whatever little side jokes or whatever the crowd's saying. He's
Yes.
joking with them. Like, nah, he absolutely worked me. That's one of the last times where I was genuinely surprised, but also thoroughly excited for what should have happened. And not too many in the history of this podcast, in the history of me being a pro wrestling fan, it's not too many times where I hang up on, man, they should have done this. And I've never really done that. Mark Henry should have won that championship.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't just that Mark Henry lost, but do y'all remember the finish? Oh my God, it burned me. He tapped out to an STF.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. I was literally like, what are y'all doing? But Adelie, all that aside, because that's literally one of the only booking decisions in all the long history of things that I should be complaining about. That's really the one that I was just like, oh, what are y'all doing? But Adelie, I want to know your thoughts on just what are your thoughts on Mark Henry as a performer and as a pro wrestler overall?
Before I dig into that, I do want to do a little connection on what Greg said, because when Stone Cold talked about this segment, he saw the same things. Like, I don't believe it because I saw that he wasn't leaving ringside. It's like, I could smell a rat, something like that. But I was thoroughly entertained. I bought it hook, line, and sinker because once I saw him talking about his family, and his son, who is pretty prolific, and now is pursuing the business on his own, right? But Mark was always, for me, he almost flourished almost so much later, right? For me, he would have been like a Kurt Angle, someone that was. He was chosen. He had that contract early on and was sent to marinate in Canada and everything, and got it at some point, right? But I think this was truly the best work of his career. We knew that skill wise, he was scary. There were so many instances of wrestlers. I think there was recently an anecdote with Eddie Guerrero who told him, like, dude, if I looked like you, I would walk around like I could squash everybody.
Baddest Joker in the building.
Right. And he didn't see himself that way. He was still like, not like a nice guy per se. He is a nice guy, but in the ring, we needed to see this monster. And there's this ravenous monster that finally came out, because ultimately, and I still say that line just even in life when I'm like, tired or annoyed, like, I got a lot left in the tank. It's like, it's such a bar, and the whole promo humanized him, right? Saw him for this vulnerability, for, hey, we're in this moment, right? If you haven't thought about Mark Henry and thought about his legacy and thought about his impact and his role in wrestling, that moment made you reflect in those instances, only to be flipped on you. And it's very meta. If you're a wrestling fan, you've been, again, Adrian mentioned it, and Greg mentioned that we catch on to so many things that are telegraphed because we've watched so long, right? And this was one that, man, half of us didn't catch on, and we were freaking thrilled by it. This was like amazing because we didn't see it, and it created a program that didn't exist, right? and it was a marquee program with an unfortunate end because he was hot. He should have gotten the title.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something else, man. I would show this to people like friends and family that didn't watch wrestling. Like, just watch this for me. This guy's retiring. They're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, it's John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that day because he put something out on Twitter, like got a big announcement or something. So a lot of us, we were paying attention because we were like, oh man, he's about to retire. Then he comes out, he's dressed like, and he's talking like that, riding through that whole wave of emotion. So yes, when John Cena came out, yes, something was up, but you're so entrenched in what he's talking about and all of these feelings of a person that sacrificed these decades of his life as being a pro wrestler. You don't care about the obvious in that sense. You're literally going along with the story. So that's the reason why I say, man, that's a chef's kiss. That, like you said, that's one of those promos or those segments you show to a lapsed fan or someone who's not even a fan. They're like, man, that's actually pretty cool. I see why you like pro wrestling. So yeah, shout out to him.
Can I throw something out there about Mark Henry's
100%, yeah.
He's the opposite big man.
Okay.
Here's what I mean. Most of these guys, we just talked about, they're silent killers, they're big, they're just badasses. He kind of went the opposite. He came in as a smiling babyface, Olympian, goes into the nation, kind of learns his stuff, goes into Sexual Chocolate, straight comedy.
Yeah.
Hilarious, right?
Yeah.
All the Mae Young stuff.
That's ultimately what got him over.
Yeah, it got him over, but it put a ceiling on him. He was not going to get past a certain ceiling. He gets sent to OVW. He comes back, has this little situation with this whole Sin Cara thing. If you guys don't know, Google it. It wasn't about Sin Cara per se. It was just what they did to him. And then he has this Hall of Pain run with ECW as this main. That's where he went first. And he turned it around. He became the badass later. Whereas normally it's the other way around. Normally you're the badass. Think about Brock. Brock Lesnar was a badass his entire career, and then they said, okay, go be a smiling baby face for a little while. And he could do it, but that wouldn't have worked early on with him. Right. And the same thing with Big Show. It wouldn't have worked early on. I mean, there's so many of these guys that just wouldn't have worked early on. We just talked about Kane. If he'd come out as a smiling, joking around with Daniel Bryan type of thing
on
in the
arrival,
beginning,
man.
it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Mark Henry's so talented, he could reverse it.
100%.
And became Mae Young, the Hand, and all that. Comes back like, oh, dude, this dude might kill everybody.
And legitimately goes back to reclaim his World's Strongest Man title.
100%.
Right. Just
we talk about Cody. We talk about guys betting on themselves. He's one of the first ones. Because if you listen to his story, he goes to dudes because he did the Olympian thing, and he was World's Strongest Man. But then he went to a World's Strongest Man competition, to where, in his words, he said Vince told him, "If you lose, you're done.
It's a wrap."
Yeah.
He's like, I wouldn't basically told him, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because if you do it and you lose, you lose that moniker.
You've killed your
He goes, I'm going to
gimmick.
go do it, and he goes and does it. He bets on himself, does it, and turns that entire career around. And I mean, that's where I have just so much respect for what he did. And again, people don't think about this. You touched on it earlier with Big Show. Big Show got sent down to OVW, but so did Mark Henry. And they were like, yeah, look, you're just not getting it. You got to go back. And this is post Sexual Chocolate.
That's crazy.
And he got sent down to OVW. So, I mean, big man, Hall of Famer, 100%. But no, I love that promo, and I think that's the other thing. His promo skills became so good.
Absolutely.
Believable. Like, that dude could walk down an alley. Like, I talked about running from Abdullah earlier.
Man.
Nah, I would have run from him, too. Be like, I'm out. I'm going.
Yeah. And I love his interest thing, man. That when they got that 666, I will say my gym loves Mark Henry, and they play his theme song at least once every morning that I'm in there.
Nice.
They love that song. They love that song. And I'm with it because I'm a pro wrestling fan. I'm like, hell yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Because it's a whole bunch of strongmen and all that. Like the body, not just bodybuilders, but strongman competitions that happen at my gym. But they love Mark Henry. So shout out to him. He's a legend. Well, we're at the end of the pod, gentlemen. I just wanted to bring some giants, some big men. Y'all have any final thoughts on the big man in today's pro wrestling?
I think there's a lot of room for opportunity. I think we're in a new era. I think about modern, big men. I think of like a Luchasaurus, who's your very stereotypical, bodyguard. But I also think of so many guys like an Obafemi who they're giving the mic to, and that dude's a killer. That
the next one, man. He's the next one, bro.
I want to see that guy come on top. But it's a good time to be a big man. It's a good time to be a pro wrestler. Let's just be real, man.
I mean, the one that jumps out at me right now is Omos. Just waiting for him to come back.
Yeah.
I think that the way they're going to use him, I think this is the benefit of having somebody like Triple H at the helm in WWE, is that he's going to use these guys as attractions and not burn you out on them. And I think that's what they're going to do with him. Like, everybody's like, where's he been? Where's he been? Where's he been? Well, he went to Japan.
Right.
Then we saw him in AAA. And then, I mean, they're going to do certain things with him, but they're going to use him sporadically.
Right.
To where you don't have to have him lose to Rey Mysterio one day, right? And, just random because you have nothing else to do with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, yeah, I think that's that one, to me, he gets it too. Like, if you listen to him on podcasts and stuff,
lock.
he
understands.
gets it. And a personality, but that personality that he has on those podcasts, of the comedy and the just personable stuff, when he gets in that ring, he flips it. He's just a bad dude. So that one is just a huge one for me.
Yeah, I'm definitely cheering for him. I remember going to NXT when I was doing training in Orlando. Shout out to Bradley for inviting me. But when you're there at NXT, the wrestlers are walking around just like you are. You're in line. You're in line for the show. You're in line for whatever concession or getting merch and stuff like that. And you got some of the wrestlers that are that are training, maybe not the guys that are actually working, but the ones that are training at the PC, they're just walking around, and you casually see Omos just walking around amongst us. It's like this big, huge dude. And I'm just like, man, I hope they actually do something with you. And like you said, making him an attraction is perfect. It makes perfect sense. So you don't burn out on the allure of this ginormous human being walking around, So yeah, but folks in the comments, let us know your favorite giants, whether they're in the past or in the present. What giants are making waves in the independents? We want to know. Put their name down so we can check them out, and hopefully they drop a promo so we can review it and do a Dusty review. But this, once again, if you want to check out past conversations like this one, go to intothebuilding.com. That'll bring you to our back catalog. We got plenty of conversations dealing with the past, present, and future of pro wrestling, just like today. And once again, gentlemen, I do thank y'all for joining me. I'm very thankful for you. I'm thankful for any of the subscribers. Leave a like, comment, all of that stuff that helps with the algorithm. So if you leave just a thumbs up in the comment, that means a billion for us. So we appreciate any and every attention and any and every conversation or point of engagement, for sure, because y'all know how YouTube is. But for Adelaide out west, for Greg here in the I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. We're Talking in the Building, a pro wrestling podcast that puts the focus on the promo. We talk about the talkers, we hype the hype man, and of course we pontificate upon the promo.